boys and girls. Today we get to learn about telling time. So what you need to get today is your clock and your paper that says 7-2 at the top, or if you look at the bottom it says page 201 on one side, page 202. So you'll need your clock, your paper, and a pencil. Go get those supplies and come on back to me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to learn to tell time. So on here it says Blank's clock. So you can take your pencil and write your name on there. That is your clock. This is my clock, Mrs. Wetstein's clock. All right, so we are going to learn about time. On our clock, there's a smaller, these are called hands. There's two hands. One is an hour hand, one is a minute hand. So here it looks like it says hour. The H is actually silent. So this is an hour hand, and this is a minute hand. All right, we'll need both hands to tell time. You'll notice that the hour hand is shorter and the minute hand is longer. That's important because when you look at a regular clock, it doesn't have two hands that are different colors usually. They're usually both the same color on a regular clock, like on our paper where both hands are black. Okay, so it's important to look at which hand is shorter. The hour hand is shorter, so that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Okay, so we're going to practice making different times. Now, when you make different times on your clock, you have to be able to turn the hands. Now, turn them kind of carefully because they're made out of cardstock, which isn't super duper strong. So if you just pull really fast, you're going to need a piece of tape. So we're going to turn them carefully. Our first job, I want you to turn your hour hand to the 12, and I want you to turn your minute hand to the 12 so that they're both pointing up at the 12. That's called 12 o'clock. So say 12 o'clock. Good job. 12 o'clock can also be noon, which is sometimes lunchtime, and it can be midnight. 12 o'clock. All right, so now we're going to leave our minute hand pointed at the 12 because we're going to learn about telling time on the hour. When we tell time on the hour, we say o'clock. That's how we know it's on the hour, o'clock. Now it's 12 o'clock. I'm going to leave my minute hand there because when we tell time on the hour, the minute hand is always pointing up at the 12. And we just changed the hour hand. So if I have the hour hand pointing at 1 and the minute hand pointing at 12, we say 1 o'clock. When the minute hand points up here, we say o'clock. And wherever the hour hand is pointing, that's what we say first. That's the hour. So now on your clock, make 1 o'clock. Good job. Now we're going to make 2 o'clock. So we're going to leave our minute hand pointing up at the 12. That's the out. That tells us it's on the hour. So that's our o'clock. And I'm just going to carefully move my hour hand to the 2 while I leave my minute hand pointed up at the 12. Now we have 2 o'clock. You make yours say 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock. We're looking at the hour hand first, the minute hand second. I bet you know what we'll do next. We're going to make 3 o'clock. So again, our minute hand stays pointing at the 12. That's o'clock. If we look back here, it has a 0, 0. That means it's right on the hour. It's 0 minutes after the hour. So we're going to move our hour hand to the 3. And I'm going to carefully put my minute hand back up at the 12. And now we look for our hour hand first, and it says 3 o'clock. Good job. I want you to keep doing that all the way around. So you're going to pause the video and you're going to make 4 o'clock. Then you're going to make 5 o'clock. And then you're going to make 6 o'clock. and I want you to keep going until you get all the way back to 12. So pause the video, make all the different hours, say them with o'clock, and then come on back to me. All right, we're gonna start our paper, so bring your clock on over, and we're coming to our paper. So on our paper it says read the clock. Write the time on the digital clock. So boys and girls, we have two different types of clocks. This type of clock here is called an analog clock. Say analog. Good. An analog clock has hands, just like our orange clock. That's an analog clock. This is a digital clock. A digital clock does not have hands, but it still says the same thing. Here's the hour, and these are the minutes. All right, I wear a watch. That is a digital watch. My watch has the hour, and it has the minutes. Right now it is 11:19. That means it's 19 minutes after 11 o'clock. My watch also has the seconds on it, and we're not going to be dealing with the seconds right now. So let's go back to this. So we have our analog clock and we have our digital clock. We want to make them the same. Okay, so here we look for the shorter hand. The shorter hand is the hour hand. We always look at the hour hand first, just like on our orange clock. The hour hand we look at first, the minute hand we look at second. So on here they're the same color, but the hour hand is shorter. So I look at the shorter one and I say 2, and I know that when the minute hand points up at the 12, I say o'clock. So this is 2 o'clock. I'm going to make 2 o'clock on my orange clock, just so I get that practice. 2 o'clock. Now I'm going to look at the digital clock. And the way we write 2 o'clock on a digital clock is for the hour, we write the 2. For o'clock, we write 00, because that means it's on the hour. It means it is 0 minutes after that hour. If I look on my orange clock behind the 12, it shows that 00. It means it's right on the hour. So 2 o'clock. We're going to go to number 2 next. Over here, I'm going to look for which hand first, the hour hand or the minute hand. If you said the hour hand, you're correct. The hour hand is shorter. That's where I go first, and it's pointing at the 3. So I'm going to write a 3 for the hour. 3. Now I'm going to look at the minute hand. The minute hand's pointing to the 12. When the minute hand points to the 12, I say o'clock. Very good. It is 3 o'clock. Now, how do I write o'clock again? Let's look back over here. When it's on the hour, we write 00 for the minutes. So 3 o'clock. Very good. Then we go to the next one, number 3. We look at the hour hand first. The hour hand here is pointing to the 9. Very good. So I'm going to write 9 for the hour. The minute hand is pointing up at the 12. And when it points up at the 12, we say o'clock. Very good. So this is 9 o'clock. And when we say o'clock, we know it's 00 because it's 0 minutes after the hour. I'm going to take my orange clock and practice that. So I'm going to take my hour hand and I'm going to point it to the 9. And I'm going to make sure my minute hand is pointing up. And I just made 9 o'clock, just like on my sheet. I want you to continue with that on the rest of these times. And write, first say the time. Look at the hour hand and the minute hand to make the time. These are all going to be o'clocks because we are practicing telling time on the hour. And then write it in the digital clock for each one. Show a grown-up when you get done so they can make sure that you are understanding. Then we're going to turn our paper over. Okay, so on the back, we get to have practice drawing. It says draw the hour hand on the clock to show the time. So we already have it pointing up at o'clock. And we can see right here that it says o'clock. It has 00, and we know that means o'clock. What hour is it? If you said 4, you're correct. So I'm going to draw the hour hand pointing to the 4. Let's see. First, I'm going to do it on my orange clock to make sure I can do it correctly. So I'm going to turn my hour hand to the 4 and my minute hand up. Okay, 4 o'clock. So now I'm going to go back to my clock and I'm going to draw a straight line and I'm going to point it at the 4. Now it's important that I make this line shorter than that line. I'm not going to put any arrows on the end or any pointy things. I'm just going to draw a straight line that's shorter than the other hand. 4 o'clock. Let's try one more together. So let's go over here. So this one says 10 o'clock. We already have the long minute hand pointing up at the 12. So we need to make the hour hand. I'm going to practice on my orange clock. So I have the minute hand pointing up at the 12. I'm going to turn the hour hand to point at the 10 because we want our clock to say 10 o'clock. So over here, 10 o'clock. Let's make a nice straight line pointing to the 10 like this. I'm going to make it nice and short because the hour hand is always shorter than the minute hand. Nice job, boys and girls. You can finish these to 5 o'clock and 8 o'clock. I'm going to have you do those on your own. On the bottom it says, look at the hour hand puzzled penguin drew. Puzzled penguin is on this paper. He is puzzled. That means he is confused. He is asking, am I correct? He doesn't know. Over here, his digital clock says what time? You're right, it says 3 o'clock. Does his analog clock say 3 o'clock? If you said no, you're right. What time does his analog clock say? If we look at that hour hand, it's pointing at the 9. So this says 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock and 3 o'clock are not the same. So we need to fix that. Let's see. Which one should we change? We could change this one. We could make this one say 9 o'clock. I'll rewrite the whole thing. 9 o'clock. And then now they both match. 9 o'clock, 9 o'clock. Down here now, he's trying to write 3 o'clock. Could you draw it? Draw the hour hand to point to the 3. You can do it, boys and girls. I know it's our first time telling time together, but I trust that you can work hard and figure it out. If you have questions, ask your grown-up or wait until tomorrow and we'll practice again together. Have fun.